What's going on, Ambitious Vet? Welcome to another episode of the Ambitious Vet Show. I'm your host, Chris Hoffman, Marine Corps veteran, surviving sales trainer, author, and award-winning entrepreneur who has realized immediate transitional education expires when you desire more than just your basic needs to be met. On this show, we dive into the trenches with today's top subject matter experts, share inspiring transitional stories, and provide masterclasses to equip you with the realistic perspective on how to reach your potential post-military. Buckle up, grab a pen and paper, or grab your favorite bourbon or beer. Sit down and let's equip you to break through new limits in your life post-military.
Yes, but like in terms of my checklist, it's very simple. Number one, like I strive to win the mornings. Like I think that's really important for me personally. That might not be for everybody, and maybe somebody else might be, they strive to win the evenings because they're a night owl and they stay up from 10 to 2 in the morning.
Yeah.
It's really painful for me to wake up at 5 a.m. or 4:30 a.m. But as soon as I'm up and I have my cup of coffee, I have 2-3 hours where I can win the morning. I can do my hardest thinking in the morning. I can plan. I can take time to meditate. I can take time to think about what I need to do.
We started this journey 5 years ago as a Facebook group just to test my assumption that there was a veteran like myself who got out and realized immediate transition education expires when you're ambitious and are looking to reach your full potential post-military. But also, throughout this past 5 years experience, what I've also learned from myself and other veterans that we reach is on the flip side, we also can get out extremely ambitious, very prideful and entitled, and we don't realize till life beats us up that our human capital is not developed enough to achieve those post-military ambitions. Now, 5 years later, we reach thousands of growth-minded veterans between our podcast, email list, and social media groups. And just like Facebook groups got saturated, podcasts are now getting saturated. We want to invite you to be one of our initial 20 beta users of our brand new exclusive social network for ambitious vets, where we can grow and advance in life together without all the distractions of mainstream media. We need feedback. We need your feedback so we can make this platform be the next thing that breaks the narrative that us veterans are better off seen, not heard. In fact, we're not broken. We are gladiators in our own right, and we need to go out there and push the needle forward on reaching our full potential post-military. You see, our goal for this community learning platform is to equip our members with the tools, connections, and content to succeed in life post-military after immediate transition education expires. Some of the benefits that you'll experience as an initial 20 beta user is right when you come in, you're going to be able to gain access to live virtual events with battle-tested industry leaders and subject matter experts. You're also going to gain access to courses and programs proven to empower growth-minded veterans looking to reach their post-military goals. Also, you're going to join an exclusive community of veterans who are committed to improving every day in life without all the distractions of mainstream social media. And lastly, you're going to be able to join a military-grade gamified experience where the more you engage, learn, and serve, the more opportunities you have. To be one of the initial 20 beta users for this social network, please visit www.ambitiousvetnetwork.com. Again, that's www.ambitiousvetnetwork.com. The link will also be in the show notes. Go ahead and apply to join the free 14-day trial. This application process helps us to ensure that every member of this network is a verified veteran. I hope that you choose to join us. And as we put together this first user group of veterans looking to create new paths in our post-military professional and personal lives. Hope to see you on the other side.
It's time to get into the trenches, dig into your purpose, and fire up your life's fulfillment. The Ambitious Vet Podcast starts now.
What's going on, Ambitious Vet? We are right back inside the trenches this week with Jason Belleville. Jason is an Air Force reservist, is a graduate, and was an instructor at Air Force Academy. Now he is a co-founder and director of operations of BodySpec, which provides engaging, easy, fun, and preventative health screenings using DEXA scan technology, where they are currently serving Los Angeles, San Francisco, Seattle, Austin, and Dallas. Quick side note, Ambitious Vet, me and Jason met at the Health Supernova event at Capital Factory here in the Dallas area. I want to say a couple months ago. He may correct me once we bring him on here, but it was immediate bromance, Air Force and Marine making eye contact. And immediately he was just telling me, hey, Marines, why do you stay on the land? Why don't you just learn how to aviate and fly? And from there, we just kind of kicked it off, and we thought we'd bring him on the show because he has a lot to share. So Jason, are you there, brother?
I'm here.
Hey, man, welcome to the Ambitious Vet Show, brother.
Appreciate you having me. This is great.
Yeah, man. So just kind of fill the gaps at introduction, man. I mean, seems like you're a typical Air Force guy, very smart, have a few degrees, we're able to get inside the academy, play soccer, as you were just saying, there as well, becoming an instructor, doing some amazing stuff. Anything that we miss, man, that you want an ambitious vet that's listening to this to know about you?
I mean, you're really hyping me up a lot, Chris. No, that's kind of the quick backstory. I'm happy to dive into any and all of that, but no, I mean, I appreciate the shout out and the love.
Yeah, man. Marines, man, we're best at being cheerleaders sometimes, man. So we do the best we can. But yeah, man, I just want to kind of then just dive into the topic that we were talking about in the pre-interview, because I think it was a pretty badass topic, man. And I was like, man, we're going in close to 200 episodes now. And I was like, man, I haven't heard this kind of a topic before. And Ambitious, that I think this will be very relevant to your everyday life as you're pursuing your post-military ambitions. And Jason, I want to throw this back over to you, man. You were pretty much teaching project management from, innovative technologies within the Air Force. You got out and, and now you're a director of operations for an innovative tech healthcare company. Walk us through what that process looks like.
Yeah. So when I was growing up, I never like put on a vision board. Like, I want to be a director of operations for a small business one day. That wasn't like, some people on their vision board, they know that they're going to be a pilot. They know that they're going to be a doctor, right? There's some professions that like you kind of aspire to early on. There's a clear path to get there. And at some point you hit the milestones and you get there, you achieve it. And so for me, director of operations and COO essentially is like something you've referenced a couple of times. And to be honest, it's something that I kind of fell into based on performance, based on experience, and based on just my skill set at that time, right? And so to kind of back up a little bit, when I was in the Air Force, I was an acquisitions officer. Right. So I graduated from the academy with an engineering background. I was stationed out in LA. I was doing satellite acquisitions for major projects like GPS, MelSatcom, those types of things that I can talk about at a 30,000 foot level. Okay. I don't want anyone to be worried about that. And then as I was continuing along my career, I went back for a master's degree to pursue engineering management because I wanted to get a little bit more on the business side. So kind of marry my technical experience with some of the business learnings at USC. And then when I was teaching, I had peers that were in the industry that were getting into small business and entrepreneurship. And so it was a combination and kind of like this beautiful marriage of my educational background, my military experience, and just kind of my drives and passions at that time. I played soccer. I was very much into health and fitness. I very much care about other people's health and fitness, my family's health and their well-being. And so it all just made sense. I wasn't necessarily looking for it, but sometimes in life, you just have to kind of keep your eyes open to opportunity, right? Like the things that are best for us, the things that make the most sense. it's not always the things that are like laid out perfectly on a vision board, right? You just have to be open to life, to kind of getting hit with those different opportunities, to meeting different folks in different industries, to pursuing your passions, to doing things that you think you like that you end up not liking, right? I mean, that's one way to learn as well. So long story short, I don't mean to kind of beat up this topic, but you know, at the time in my life, it was 2014. I had the opportunity to get out of the military. I had the opportunity to jump into a startup, something I had never done before. It was like a new challenge that like I really was inspired by and motivated to do and to do well. And as I got into it as a co-founder, I started kind of taking on the hard projects, the things that nobody else was willing or able to do. And as I did more and more and more of those projects, I became the guy that those projects were sent to. And ultimately, I became the guy that's in the position I'm in today. So that's how it all happened. I don't know if that helps.
No, it's great. It's a lot of great context too, man. And, you know, going from, you know, a regimented military career to then diving into a startup, there's a lot of, you know, what a common misconception is startups is very autonomous, right? Like there's not a lot of structure, not a lot of operations yet there. And I bet you kind of geeked out on just getting in there and providing that kind of structure as well from your military experience, I'm sure.
Yeah. There's a lot of chaos in a startup, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's 25 hours worth of work in a 24-hour day, and there's just a lot of projects that are happening simultaneously, and like the roles are blended. You know, in the military, I mean, I knew my role in the military. I knew my job. I knew my career path. I knew what school I was going to be going to 3 years from now. I knew how much money was going to be making 15 years from now. Like, it's very clear. It's very clear cut, and and there's pros and cons to that, right? And you know, so you take the lessons learned from that as best as possible. You know, some of it's transferable to a startup world, but it's really kind of organizing your own life so that you can be as successful as possible, managing the chaos. And I'll tell you, like the startup world specifically, like being an entrepreneur, you know, you kind of have to have like a unique DNA for that, right? It's not for everybody. I would, you know, if you have the dream to do it, I would say absolutely go for it. Like get in there, see what happens, fail, you know, do it again, fail again. I mean, you know, you and I talked about that, like life being kind of a contact sport. But I didn't know. I was up for the challenge. I didn't know like what the startup life was going to be like. I'm glad I'm in it. I'm glad I chose that path. The challenges have been incredible. The opportunities have been incredible. Just the experience and the journey, zero regrets. But I would not have known had I not jumped over. So
yeah, good for you for doing it, man. I think the soccer experience too of, you know, that contact sport, being competitive, getting out there, it probably helped you a lot as well. But one thing that we talked about in the previous pre-interview too, brother, was just your idea behind having a personal checklist for success. I mean, that's probably coming from a project management mind of yours, right? An operational mind of yours. But I think that, you know, Ambitious Vet assisting this, including myself, man, we don't always have a structured checklist of our personal philosophy for success. And that's why we get lost, man. We have like identity issues. We may lose a job. We may get pissed off because we're underemployed and in an employment setting or whatever, man. And, you know, then that spirals to like everything that veterans, you know, are stereotyped as is like mental health issues, depressed, you know, they don't know who they are, shit like that. Right.
Yeah.
So how have you learned to develop your personal checklist for your success, man?
Yeah. I mean, for me, so number one, I try to keep it simple, right? As much as folks can make things simple for themselves, that guarantees success, right? I mean, here's an example. You know, people at the beginning of the year, they start these New Year's challenges, right? And they want to go work out and get healthy. All of a sudden, they haven't done anything for the past 10 months, and then January 1st, they're going to be fitness rock stars, health rock stars. And I say this because it's just relevant in our industry and like what I see in my company, right?
Yeah.
But like, that's really hard to do. It's really hard to be successful, to kind of change your identity like in that moment on that day, unless like you make the habits and you make the checklist very easy, right? It's not going to be easy for you to go to the gym if you don't have your workout clothes set out for you the night before. It's just not, because it's one less like element of friction that's going to make it easier for you to stay in bed and be like, well, I don't know. I'm not going to go to the gym because I don't know where my clothes are. I don't know where my workout shoes are. I don't have it set on my schedule. It's not an appointment on my calendar to like make this easy. So I don't mean to digress, but like in terms of my checklist, it's very simple. Number one, like I strive to win the mornings. Like I think that's really important for me personally. That might not be for everybody, and maybe somebody else might be, they strive to win the evenings because they're a night owl and they stay up from 10 to 2 in the morning.
Yeah.
It's really painful for me to wake up at 5 a.m. or 4:30 a.m. But as soon as I'm up and I have my cup of coffee, I have 2-3 hours where I can win the morning. I can do my hardest thinking in the morning. I can plan. I can take time to meditate. I can take time to think about what I need to do, the actions I need to take to win the rest of the day, right? But I always try to set myself up for success every day, first thing in the morning, because it gives me a lot of momentum going into the day. Days can be long, they can be tiring, they can be chaotic, right? So I just think that that's really important. If folks are able to do that, then I think that gives you a lot of momentum. So that's number one. Number two for me is just being really intentional about relationships. That's it. So whatever that means to folks, and that can be interpreted different ways, but like really actually being intentional and thoughtful about your relationships, about people in your network, your friends, your family, the folks in your industry, the folks around you. Because having these conversations, like I said earlier, it kind of keeps your eyes open to opportunity, right? As you're catching up and you turn your notifications off and you turn your email off and your phone off and you're having coffee with a buddy that you haven't seen in a long time, and they're working on this new project with this new person in this new industry, that's magic right there. And it's very effortless if you could just be intentional and thoughtful about the relationship, because that conversation is like oftentimes what breeds new opportunities.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love how you put that, man. Breeds new opportunities. So to kind of go back to step one in the checklist, man, winning the morning. I loved how you broke it down to like, either you're a morning person or you're an evening person, depending on when you have the most energy. That's where you got to win. That's where the game time is for soccer players, right? Baseball players, football players, probably from your philosophy with playing sports. But what would you say practically? How do you set yourself up to win the morning? I know you said hardest thinking, stuff like that, but do you have like a checklist for your morning routine? I know you said you drink your coffee. I mean, what does that look like for an ambitious vet looking to establish a quality morning or evening routine to win?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a great question. I mean, kind of getting into it tactically, like how do you do it? How do you execute on that?
Yeah.
So I'm thinking about it. I'm planning for it. So I'm not winning the morning by like setting an alarm tomorrow at 5 and just hoping I wake up. The night before, I'm going to bed at a reasonable time so that I can wake up. I'm having all my tasks, I'm having everything done and prepped by 9:30 p.m. the night before. I'm having my clothes out, my workout clothes out. I'm having my meal prepped. I look at my calendar in advance. Like I know what's going on because I'm getting ready for the next morning. That's kind of step one. It's like the pre-checklist to the checklist, right? But like it's difficult because you have to, again, you have to be really thoughtful and you have to be really intentional about wanting to do these things, right? And it has to do with your identity. Right now, I could walk up to any person and say, I'm a morning person, right? And I'll be honest, I hate waking up early. Like I hate it. When my alarm goes off, it's the worst. It's a nightmare. But I'm a morning person. That's my identity because I do the things to set myself up to own that identity, right? If you say that you're a reader, you better be reading a lot of books, right? You better have a system in place where like every day you're reading X amount of pages, or you have a goal where you're reading X number of books every month, or you're in a book club, or you follow different book lists or whatever it is. If you're an athlete and that's how you identify, then you have all those traits in place. So like in terms of winning the morning, it starts with the night before. The morning of, it's the same thing. I do the same thing because I can't fail at that. I can't fail at making coffee and drinking it. I can't fail at having a glass of water to wake me up. I can't fail at washing my face. So, I get a little alert with cold water. It's the same thing every day because, we're creatures of habit, and that makes it easier to not fail.
Yeah. Man, you said you can't fail at drink coffee. I think I could show you a way to fail at drink coffee, man. When you get up with a 6-month-old and you're holding her while trying to sip it, sometimes you spill a little bit on your chest. So I don't know how you measure failure with that, man. But
hey, that's how you wake up.
One way or the other. But no, man, I appreciate you breaking that down, the pre-checklist to the checklist, and being able to map out and kind of start priming your brain around what do you need to be thinking about the next day. I mean, I think I definitely identify with that as well. For my identity is like, I need to end the day with like, okay, what are my big 3 next day, and start priming my brain on like, okay, what am I going to need to execute those things, resources, conversations to have, and stuff like that. And I think that kind of gets the brain moving in the right direction versus just waking up and getting overwhelmed by shit and hoping your coffee, helps you win the day. You know what I mean? Like, it's a different way of thinking for sure. And you said getting your brain doing the hardest thinking. Are you kind of like an eat that frog kind of a dude where you just go and you eat the ugliest frog first thing in the morning? Or what do you do when you mean do your hardest thinking in the morning?
Yeah. So there's a really good book out. It's it's been around for a long time. It's called The One, but it articulates it much better than I could. But in terms of like time blocking and spending energy, because you have kind of like a certain amount of like mental capital like during the day, right? And as you get tired, as the day goes on, as you get pulled into different meetings, as you're accomplishing different tasks, depending on how hard things are, like throughout the day, like your mental capital, like it starts to deplete a little bit because you're spending that capital, you're spending that energy trying to accomplish the mission, whatever the day brings you. So, it's how, like, I guess the question would be like, how do you work on a hard problem effectively when you're getting emails and then you're responding to those and taking a break, and you're getting Slacks, and then someone texts you, and then you jump into a meeting in the middle of a project that you're supposed to be getting done, like that type of distraction. And you could take it for a project, you could take it for a relationship. If you're having a coffee with someone for an hour and you're sitting there checking your phone or doing whatever, you're kind of stealing resources away from like that moment. Right. And in order to be effective, in order to be impactful, and in order to achieve something during that time, like you got to be in the trench, like you got to be focused in that moment. And so for me, time blocking, in the morning, because I have a son too. I have a crazy little 5-year-old boy who gets up. Yeah. So he gets up super early too. So my goal is always to get in as much time before that little nugget wakes up, so that when he's up, I can focus on him. Right. But I have those 2-3 hours in the morning, and the hard stuff, man, you gotta invest the time and the mental capital to get that stuff done. That's typically the most important stuff.
Yeah. Embrace the suck is what I'm hearing, Ambitious Vet. And also thanks for sharing that resource. The One, we'll have that link in the show notes below to Ambitious Vet. So make sure you go check out that book. Jason, man, I think it all ties into what you were saying with identity too, man. If you know what you identify with, you'll prioritize that first thing in the morning as well, right? But I also want to move on to the second step inside your checklist, being intentional with relationships. And we all know, veterans, we suck at building relationships, man. That was one of my hardest things for the first 10 years getting out of the military, man, was just, how do I build trustful relationships, quality relationships? And how do I continue to balance the guys that served in the Marine Corps who are just worried about which club they're going to over the weekend, or, whatever it may be, right, man? Yeah. We know what it is, right? So it's just like balancing all that stuff while feeling like you're still progressing into a brand new culture. So for you, being, a guy that's gotten out of the Air Force now as a reservist, And now you're a co-founder and a director of operations, huge responsibilities with this amazing, innovative healthcare tech company. How do we be intentional with our relationships, our core relationships, while you're a startup co-founder? Because that can't be easy either.
Yeah. And I'll be honest. I mean, relationships they're hard for me as well. I mean, they're hard for anybody. You don't want a relationship to feel like it's a ton of effort. Like, that's not what a relationship is about. A relationship should be supportive. It should be considerate and compassionate and kind of meet folks where they are. I have best friends from school that I don't talk to for 6 months, but that's just how we manage our friendships. But when we're connecting, we're fully connecting. Like, we're back in it. We're hitting the ground running, and that's the nature and dynamic of our relationship, and that's fine. I'm not saying that like relationships have to be like a full-time job and you're just you're emailing family and friends every 3 days just to check in. That's not like an intentional. That's not an intentional aspect of a relationship. So here's what I would say, because I'm still in the reserves in the Air Force, right? And I have a bunch of friends that are still in. I have a bunch of friends who separated, and being a veteran, like being part of the military community, is so significant. And I don't know how many folks like actually like know that, internalize that, embrace that. There's of course a lot of resource. There is a lot of resource for the military, but for veterans as well, that like some of that may or may not be known, right? But there's just a lot of love and like compassion towards folks that have served. And I just mean that from the bottom of my heart. And I think people in general get nervous about like asking for help, or asking questions, or asking what to do, or where to go, or like, who else can I talk to? Oh, like, I'm really interested in like pursuing graphic design. Like, do you know anybody? Like, those simple questions, like people kind of shy away from help, because there's been kind of this stigma with like social capital, right? Like, if I ask for something, like I better give something, or kind of this like tit for tat type thing.
Right.
And I'll tell you, and I'll just say this kind of emphatically, that like, you shouldn't be afraid to ask for help, because there's so many people in the world, in the community, that like have something to offer that makes them feel good to give help. Right. I mean, I would just offer that for every one of your listeners, honestly, like for however busy you and I are, Chris. I mean, I mean this sincerely and genuinely. Like, if any of your listeners want to email me personally and just ask any question, I would honestly respond to every single one of those people, because it's just, that's like the brotherhood, that's the sisterhood, that's like this community that we're part of. And so, anyways, I kind of went off on a huge tangent with that. With relationships, I think they're critically important. You build them at your pace, but the most important thing is just to be sincere and genuine. And that is how the relationships grow and blossom. Like, don't send out mass emails or mass texts just to do it. Like, ask thought-provoking questions, like be involved, be interested, be caring. And that's how you kind of grow that network.
Yeah, no, I mean, I love it, man. I think you hit it from all different angles, man. You flew around, circled, and then shot a missile and killed it. So, no, man, I mean, I love it, man, because I think that's so important, to be all in, be present with the person that's in front of you. It seems like you're like pointing to like conscious relationship building, like being present, being conscious of the other person. And really, when you're in front of somebody, making sure that you make sure that person in front of you is the only person you're paying attention to and caring for. And I also love the other side of it too, man, is I feel like us veterans, we put so much pressure on ourselves. I know, hell, I do, man, around a fear that I'm going to let my network down, like friends, family, colleagues, people in the startup arena, in our arena, right? Even in if you're in the higher education field, pursuing a degree right now, ambitious vet, or you're in a, career path that you're trying to accelerate inside of, don't be afraid to let people, down, man. Just be realistic on where you're at and communicate from there, right? Like, hey, look, like I really need this, but here's my commitment, right? If you need a framework, like, hey, I have a commitment, I have a mission I'm trying to achieve, and this is where I'm at. How can we help get there? I think that's a great framework as well to share from. But I think that's an incredible way of building relationships, which is being intentional. So, Jason, I want to throw this back on you because we're hitting time. But I want to kind of give you an opportunity to share any save rounds. We call this the last golden grenade section, right? The typical veteran that listens to this on a weekly basis or bi-weekly basis right now is when we're usually pushing these episodes out right now, is a veteran that's either still in, has big ambitions and wants to figure out how to fill their human capital gaps as fast as possible to thrive in their post-military ideal career, or it's a veteran that's been out for at least a few years and they've realized that immediate transitional education has expired, man, like career readiness, healthcare, stuff like that. And they're just figuring out how do they reach their full potential. For those two people that maybe in those trenches, those seasons of life rather, what would be some last save rounds that you would give to that veteran before we send them off to connect deeper with you?
Yeah. Gosh, that's a tall order. Because again, just to keep it simple and not oversimplify this, but like for everyone listening, there are resources for like whatever you're trying to do or whatever you're trying to like evolve into in terms of your identity, right? If you're getting out of the military and you want to go and pursue whatever career it is, you can absolutely do that. You got to ask the questions. You got to be intentional with your relationships. It kind of gets back to my checklist. I mean, like spend thoughtful time every day mapping out that pathway. I mean, there's pathways that exist for any type of transition, but like you and you alone are kind of in charge of that in terms of like are in charge of that roadmap, are in charge of like what that looks like in order to achieve your end state. So, I hate kind of listening to myself talk like this because it's just so broad based and it's so generic, but like, but I just hope that everyone like really does take advantage of like their network and their talents, because every single person listening in has like a really unique skill set, and they've been trained in many different ways, and that alone is something that is translatable and transferable, right? In terms of like just finding the right marriage with the right opportunity and like what people are interested in, what they're good at, and like their passions and experience. So hopefully that's a little bit helpful. But yeah, again, it's just such broad based because there's a lot of different ways to kind of skin the cat, I guess, as people are transitioning out,
Yeah, it's all individual to the individual. But I mean, I think winning your morning, being intentional in your relationships and coming from your core identity and understanding that, it's key, man. So Jason, if you could just briefly share about Body Spec, and then also where an ambitious vet can learn more about that company or yourself as far as where can they go next?
Yeah, Body Spec, I think you nailed it early on. We're a preventative health screening company. We're mobile based and we operate out of unique regions. We're in Seattle, San Fran, LA, and we're in Central Texas now. We do total body composition scans using a DEXA scanner, which is a low dose X-ray. Any one of the listeners can come check us out. Go to our website, bodyspec.com. You can find out more information there. For myself personally, again, and I mean this sincerely, anyone can reach out to me at any time. I mean, I'd be happy to talk shop with any of your listeners, provide any help and support that I can, just even with my own network. So, I'll give you my contact info. You could also link it, and yeah, I'd be happy to connect with anyone.
Perfect. Jason, thanks so much for joining the show, man. And thanks for just being a stud, man, that, you served inside the Air Force, got out, and you're serving and you're not looking back and building an innovative company to help forward the healthcare industry, man. So just thanks for being an ambitious vet. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, appreciate it, Chris.
The Ambitious Vet is available on all popular podcast platforms. Go to vettrainingcoaching.com to subscribe, rate, and share with fellow vets.
Hey, Ambitious Vet, before you go, One thing that you may or may not know, over the past 18 months, what us at the Ambitious Vet Network have been creating is a social network exclusive just for ambitious vets like yourself to come meet as a team, also connect and grow inside of some of our programs and content, all in the same place without all the distractions of mainstream social media. Our goal is to help fuel your growth post-military after immediate transitional education expires. You see, career readiness, healthcare, benefits, stuff like that is something that is part of the overall stepping stone and framework of us reaching our full potential post-military. And in fact, it's just the first step towards understanding who you are and what you want and how to execute on it. The benefits of becoming one of the 20 beta users here, which that's what we're inviting you for. We need 20 beta users. We have thousands of veterans that we reach here on the podcast. So hopefully you're the one that's willing to step up, provide feedback so we know how to tailor the content and the customized learning experience around your unique needs. What will you be getting out of becoming a member of the platform? Well, you're going to be able to gain access to live virtual events with battle-tested industry leaders and subject matter experts. You're also going to be able to gain access to the courses and programs proven to empower growth-minded veterans looking to reach their post-military goals. In fact, we have 19 themes that we've mapped out with our director of education, who's a curriculum writer, based on our core data points from listeners like yourself who are saying, hey, this is what I'm struggling with. This is what I need after I realize how to write a resume, right? Also, you're going to gain access, to an exclusive community of veterans who are committed to improving every day in life. From there, you're also going to join a military-grade gamified experience where the more you engage, learn, and serve, the more opportunities you're going to have to grow and prosper inside of our community and outside of it. So if you're telling me, hey, Chris, I want to go out and check out more, to be one of the initial 20 beta users to provide some feedback, go and check out www.ambitiousvetnetwork.com to apply to join the free 14-day trial. Not everyone's going to be accepted. We're looking for 20 who are willing to prove that they not only have veteran verification, but also have a strong why on why they're joining, because we want people that are coming in that are ready to dive deep, ready to consume some great personal growth content that is tailored around veterans, but also how, veterans that are looking to serve. How can you serve within our platform as well? So hopefully you're one of them. Again, www.ambitiousvetnetwork.com. I'll put the link in the show notes below. Please join me inside the trenches here as we seek to grab our first user group for feedback here and overarching break the narrative that veterans are broken, better off seen, not heard. Until next episode, Ambitious Vet, hold the vision and trust the process. Take care.